evening, people of the internet. Today, we are looking at Tales from the Crypt again. I had to. I'm sorry. Every time I'm going to watch one of these, I'm going to do that. That's a threat. My eyes will not stop watering. Oh my god. So, if you missed my first episode, a long, long time ago, when I was but a wee little lad, my mother bought something from the $5 bin at Walmart. It was this. The final season of Tales from the Crypt. First time I'd ever seen the show, I think it was circa 2008. And I fell in love with this show, and subsequently we bought more. And last week, I think, when I made the other video 2 weeks ago, whatever, there's a viewer that suggested that I watch the first episode of the first season, and I happen to have that one as well. So, today I'm watching it. This is Tales from the Crypt. It's an anthology-style, sort of goofy-ish horror show that was created in, like, late 80s, and it went into the mid-90s, or maybe late 90s. And I think it's one of the best anthology shows that has ever been made, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. This one takes a dive into a very interesting and, I think, very well-crafted psychopathic killer. Enjoy. Oh, look at that 3D spider. That's some...
Poor little fellas. When I think of their childhood, all those cute little maggots. Our story is about a man with nobler ambitions. He likes to kill human pests, and he does it in front of an audience. Now that's entertainment. So hang on to your hats, kiddies. This one's a real shocker.
Shocker. The Man Who Was Death. Whoa, that changed up entirely. It's like a haunted circus vibe. Huh. So I'm going to let this first scene play out because I really like the way they did it, and I don't think any of my commentary over the top of it really does it any justice. I feel as though you just need to experience it. So the things I want you to pay attention to, how he narrates, what's going on in the background, and the music.
This here is Charlie Ledbetter, sitting in his cell out the state penitentiary. It's long about midnight. Charlie's gonna die in a few minutes. One thing Mr. Ledbetter ain't thinking about is Joe Saylor, his old boss. You see, one day Charlie had a half pint of vodka for lunch. He got to thinking about how they turned him down when he wanted that raise. Now, he felt real bad about that, old Charlie did. He'd been working there for about 7 years, and he didn't have too much to show for it. So he went down and got his cold blue 44 out of the glove box of his Chevy, took it up to Mr. Saylor's office. 2 slugs went into Saylor, 3 went wild. Last one went right through a glass wall into a secretary that's passing by. Got it right behind the ear. Killed her big as hell. Kind of a lucky shot, really. About the only kind of luck Charlie Ledbetter ever had. I guess right about now, Charlie Ledbetter's starting to think pretty serious about that Valley of Death. He's thinking about that rubber diaper they give him to wear. Wondering if he's gonna crap all over himself when I juice him in a couple minutes. He will.
Man, the combination of the deadpan narration and then the creepy music and him screaming being pulled out of a jail cell. Creepy. Very creepy indeed. In fact, I think they kind of nailed the creepiness because the sound of that haunted circus music kind of has some discordant sounds in it. And although it's a little kind of, what's the word, cheesy, I guess, compared to like nowadays, the idea is still there, and I think it still hits. I know it's hitting me a little bit. So as the guy was being walked down the hallway, he's talking about how they always say that the governor's going to call and that he's not going to be executed and whatnot. And so that's where this scene starts, and you can kind of see the beginnings of how he gets an enjoyment out of this, but not like a normal kind of. You can already see this sense of he is death. This is him, right? And that's obviously the point of the title. He views himself as not just an executioner and a job that he needs to do, but it's his duty. That's his mission.
He's got to!
I'll knock it off, Charlie. You're being some damn chicken shit. You killed somebody, now you're gonna do the hot squat. It all evens out, don't it, baby?
Why are you doing this?
You know,
It ain't
people
right.
tell me most executioners never look the prisoners in the eye. Afraid they're gonna get spooked or something. Not me. I always look. Okay, Mr. Ledbetter. Now you're all ready for your regulation 2 jolts the state requires.
He's actually playing a psychopath pretty well, honestly. Pretty damn well.
No! It ain't right.
Notice how when it gets serious, there's no music. It's just the sounds of the room. I think that's something that a lot of shows miss nowadays. But it allows you to be immersed in this situation, especially a terrible situation like this one. Yeah, I think that was a very good decision on their part.
They say electric current's so fast the brain gets cooked just as soon as the switch is throwed. Prisoner never feels a thing. Boy, I'd hate to think that was true.
Boy, I'd hate to think that was true. Interesting. I think I do remember this episode, but not very well. So you can already see how he gets a satisfaction out of it. Now, is it like a satisfaction like eating a good meal or like watching a good movie or, other things that are satisfactory? No, it's not the same kind of satisfaction. It's like a fulfillment, I think, of some sort. So, but like I said, they're writing him very well so far, so let's continue.
I like electricity. It's dependable. You can trust it. Let's say do it with gas or with some lethal injection. I don't take to that. That's how you kill a dog or a cat or something, not a man. It's gotta be the old electric chat for me.
What is that? Antisocial personality disorder, where they have this grandiose self, where they are the righteous ones. I pointed out further in the episode as well, but to him, lethal injection or gas is too simple of a way, and he feels the need to be more in control of what's happening. I think that's what they're getting at. If you inject it, their bloodstream is the thing that administers the poison. The gas, that's still pretty direct, so I'm not sure why he doesn't like gas. But I think for him, it's almost a fetish. Electricity is almost a fetish for him, I think. And it manifested in this way that this is the way, in his opinion, that man needs to be killed. Violent, direct, and fast. And I think that's what he likes.
Claim that execution is still murder in the eyes of God.
I'm terribly sorry, Niles.
Hey, listen, it wasn't your fault. Nothing you could do.
So, he loses his job. And this starts the downhill spiral. And he's there, and he's like, they're going to write him a recommendation. And he's like, well, can't I just have my old job back? I'll step back a little bit. He used to work on the generators as an electrician for the prison. But they said, no, we have that position filled. We don't need you here. And then he keeps pushing, and he says this.
We thought it wouldn't be good to have you around the prisoners. I mean, they all knew what you did. I mean, they all knew you were the man who...
I mean, that's a fair point. Fair point indeed. Now, I want you to look at this scene. Excuse me. I want you to look at this camera positioning. We are on the floor now. So he is looming over us. But notice who is still bigger in this scene. That's going to be important later. Really good camera work. Really good.
I guess this ain't the kind of work they give you a gold watch for, is it?
So he goes to his local bar and, having a drink to pass the time because he's not really sure what to do anymore. And this is the conversation that ensues.
I hate to see talent go to waste. It's a fucking shame.
Talent go to waste? I mean, it doesn't take much talent to throw a lever, but, that's just me, I guess.
They'd all be too sick from it. They wouldn't let it happen again.
Fucking guys on TV. What do they know?
Let me tell you something. They put executions on TV, be the fucking highest rated show of all time. Be Nielsen's through the roof. Other networks would start killing people just to compete.
I figured this would be interesting kind of to dive into this concept a little bit. If executions were ever televised, would people watch them? I think they would. You know, we like to look back at history and think that what the Romans did to the gladiators was barbaric, and what the Spanish Inquisition did to people who were not of a particular faith was barbaric. We like to look back at history and think that we are better now, and I think that's kind of a flaw that humans have. And I think it's why history does tend to repeat itself. It's because we can't accept the fact that we are the same that we were back then. Society has changed, and I'm not denying that. But what I'm saying is, we're still animals, and we have animalistic tendencies. Something like that, like the Spanish Inquisition, could absolutely happen again. In fact, it's never really stopped. There are many religions around the world that have done and continued to do terrible things to people in the guise of their religion, in the guise of being righteous. And we're getting the same sensibility from him. His sensibility is he is the righteous one, which of course is a terrible thing to think. But that's where he is coming from. So, would executions ever be televised? If it happened tomorrow, I would be surprised. But if it was like 50 years from now, you never know what's going to happen.
We eat shit and the shit eats us.
I like that.
It can
We
be
eat
from my
shit,
job,
shit
but
eats
that's afraid
us.
of
I
me.
like that. He has almost this, if you've ever seen The Watchmen or like read the comics, I haven't read the comics, I've only seen the movie. He almost has the personality of the comedian. A mockery of society, almost, which is kind of interesting.
Like them, over there. You see those two junkies? Pitiful bastards, ain't they?
I'll tell you something, though. In a way, I respect them. They're honest. They spend all the money they can get just to shoot a little death into their arms. Just for a thrill. Just get a little taste of the grave. See, they know death is coming. They tease it. I like that. Because at the same time, junkies are shit. Two-bit criminals.
Wow, they're really...
Upon examination of sworn testimony.
They've really written... I'm trying to remember, is it antisocial personality disorder or is it borderline personality disorder? That has the grandiose sensibilities. But they're doing it really, really well. Because he talks about how, like, he respects them, but he would still kill them in a heartbeat because he views them as beneath himself. And they're depicting that really well through the dialogue. Obviously, it's a little heavy-handed, but it's a short... it's basically a short film, so they don't have a long time to draw out the story that's happening. But they're writing it very, very well. He's definitely a psychopath, because he's not exhibiting standard human emotions. But I can't remember if it's antisocial personality disorder. I can't talk this morning. Or if it's borderline personality disorder that has the grandiose self. Is it both of them? I don't think. It is interesting, though, that he removes himself from killing a little bit because he doesn't do the killing, right? He views electricity as his conduit, RR, so to speak. So it kind of distances himself from it a little bit, which is interesting. This is honestly a very well-written serial killer, basically.
Testimony, it would appear that the state has a strong case for the prosecution of James Flood for the crime of murder. However, having reviewed the district attorney's case, I find that the warrant for arrest has been improperly worded. I'm afraid I must rule that there are no grounds on which to prosecute James Flood. Mr. Flood, you are free to leave.
Yeah! Objection, Your Honor! Your Honor,
I like how he has a mullet, by the way. Oh. Oh, and he's sitting there stewing. Ooh.
I got nothing special against bikers. Hell, I used to own a hog myself once upon a time. Bikers believe in freedom. They don't want nobody to lean on them, and they don't give a good goddamn what polite society thinks of. See, they figure they're throwbacks to real Americans. You know what the country was all about before it all went to hell? With big city lawyers and computers, corporations, time clocks and what all. There's a lot to be said for that. Those ain't bad ideas. But this biker, Jimmy Flood, now he went way out of line.
So as you're watching that scene, it's here that it kind of hit me that I think they're displaying psychosis or some form of it. He is talking to the camera as if it was a person, which is in the style of this kind of narration-led story, which is fine. But I think they're using it in the right way because I believe this to be him talking to himself, and we are the voice inside of his head because we're almost cheering for him. When we're watching the show, we almost feel like what he's going to do, because we know what he's going to do, is right. And that leads back to like humans having these animalistic tendencies. That's why we still have the death penalty. To us humans, it feels right to kill someone that has killed someone. You know, tit for tat, an eye for an eye. Although an eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind. But that's more of a, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but that is a warning. Because if you go down that path of vengeance, essentially, it only leads to darker places. But he doesn't see it like that. To him, his need for killing is quenched by killing killers. So he is better than them because they have done evil things, and he is just balancing the system. And I think the narration is him talking to the voices in his head, telling him that it's okay, because we're watching it and we're accepting it. That's what I think.
And he ought to pay.
And he ought to pay. I like how that was probably only like a couple hundred volts. Definitely wasn't 10,000 volts. Running through those wires, they'd blow it immediately. There's no way they would handle that. Chris, I don't know, do they use a whole lot of amperage? I think they would have to, right?
Authorities believe a short circuit may have been responsible for the freak.
Just look at that stare. Holy crap. He means business.
Some people say there's no God.
Sure there's a God. No doubt about it. Problem is, he spends too much time making assholes like that biker.
And I know what you mean.
And I think this is the perfect scene to just put the cherry on top. He not only sees himself as better than people, he sees himself as better than God, which in this particular episode, God being like the highest tier of judgment, right? Not necessarily God in a general sense, but God in this episode is Judgment, and he is better than Judgment. Which I think fits perfectly with antisocial personality disorder. Or is it borderline personality disorder? I haven't looked it up, and I haven't double-checked myself, but it's one of those two.
In the charge of first-degree murder, we find the defendants, Cynthia Baldwin and Theodore Carney, not guilty.
The defendants have been found innocent of all charges.
Oh yeah, that's what happens in the courtroom. I love that cold stare that he has. Casting was great. So, we got our next instance. Two people seemingly getting away with murder. I wonder what our heroine is going to do. Heroine? That's not the right word.
Who are you? Look, I have $200 in my wallet. It's in my pants in the other room.
I have some money in my purse. Please, take it. Just don't hurt us.
Keep it. I ain't here for your money.
I don't get it. What do you want?
I find you both guilty of the murder of your former wife, Mr. Carney.
Were you a friend of hers? Who are you?
And I sentence you to death. That sentence to be carried out immediately.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
It was all Ted's idea. I didn't know he'd really go through with it.
Shut up, Cynthia.
You gotta believe me.
Shut up, Cynthia. No, wait, no.
I like the bubbles. I don't think there would be any bubbles. That was pretty good. In there, I think we get an interesting snippet into another side of just human nature, is how she just immediately turns on him like, I didn't know he would do it. It was his idea, you know, all this kind of stuff, you know, trying to get away from. Obviously, she was a part of the planning. Otherwise, they wouldn't be sipping champagne and, you know, getting hot and busy in a hot tub. But I think that was an interesting, you know, little peek inside human nature.
I wonder how you gonna dance when I put 10,000 volts through your ass.
As you can see, he's getting more and more enjoyment out of it. And he's talking to himself out loud now, out in public. Which I feel like is just him losing himself more and becoming this character of death. But unfortunately, who would not see the cables? That's hilarious. Plus 10,000 volts aren't going through jumper cables, but, you know, whatever. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt.
Mr. Talbot, you are under arrest. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
He didn't have much of a spree, did he? Oh no, he was foiled! I mean, yeah, he was gonna get caught. Of course he was gonna get caught. Still the same look.
I got some good news for you, Mr. Talbot. Since you're such a staunch supporter of capital punishment, you'll be glad to know the state legislature has just reinstated the death penalty. And guess who's not pulling the switch this time?
Ooh. They used the laugh from the first guy that he killed.
That's all I'm asking for, just a few damn minutes.
So, this is what I'm talking about, how the one scene where the camera was on the floor and the one guy was actually larger in frame than he was, but they were both looming figures. He walks out of the frame. The reason why the other guy was bigger is because he is his judgment at the end. It's such a simple camera trick, but it really sets you up for that idea. And I think they did it pretty well.
Come on, I'm telling you, the government's gonna call. He knows what I done for him. I didn't do nothing that you didn't want. I didn't do nothing you didn't go along with. All I did was something you wanted to chicken shit to do yourself.
It all comes full circle. Notice how he's doing the exact same thing that all the other people have done. So I don't think he is a full-blown psychopath, because I don't think he would be feeling that kind of emotion. I think it was maybe some sort of... well, it wouldn't be a manic episode, because that's the wrong term. It's a term like that, and I can't think of it. But, anyways, what was happening to him is, because of the situations that he was in, his brain just snapped. And so he just went down that road because he needed the satisfaction of what his old job had. And him, as seeing it as a righteous path, allowed him to kill those other people. That's how a lot of killers do it. They rationalize what they do as either a necessary evil or just flat out necessary. And see, I think that feeds into the audience being in his head as well, and us being a part of what allowed him to do this, because we almost feel that sentiment as well. The first guy was absolutely a killer and got away with it because of a clerical error in the courtroom. That actually happens all the time. And in fact, even worse than that, because of clerical errors or investigations that went awry, there are many innocent people in jail that are doing even life sentences for stuff that they haven't done. So we have this sentiment inside of us that has a little bit of distrust for judgment through our judicial system. And we kind of view him as almost being necessary. Kind of like Batman, but Batman is definitely better than this guy. I love that because it's just the same cold, dead stare. Even a little darker because his eyes are covered and you can't see him. Same treatment. The same everything. Same everything is happening to him. Maybe God does exist.
Niles, I'm terribly sorry it's come to this.
It's my job. That's why I did it, because it's my job. I didn't want no haircut. They said that was a mistake because my head might catch on fire from the electricity when they juice me. I told them, don't worry. The governor gonna call.
And that's how his life ends. How he ended many lives before. A steaming head, or hands, or bubbly bathtub. I think they depicted a psychopath or someone on the edge of psychopathy very, very well. There's a lot of things that they put in there that a lot of killers think, or how they think that what they're doing is right, and it's how the human brain simply tricks itself into believing that it's okay. It's interesting how the human brain works, isn't it? Thank you very much for watching my video all the way to the end, and I hope that you enjoyed it. I really love looking at these old episodes, so I might just do like a few here and there, and just kind of do deep dives on like interesting concepts that I like to talk about every now and then, and just I don't know, see where the series goes. But I like doing this, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it as well, and I hope that you also have a lovely day, night, or evening, whatever time it happens to be wherever you are. And I'll see you next time.